Hello and welcome back to Tales Untold. I'm Wyatt.
And I'm Erica.
Today we will be discussing werewolves. I know that we have been pretty excited about every topic we have talked about so far.
Definitely.
So let's jump into werewolves. Let's start with what we know about werewolves. So when I think of a werewolf, I think of like a wolf. But I then found out that werewolf actually is like a person that can turn into a wolf.
You did not know this?
No. I thought werewolves were like a real animal, and I thought like people that could turn into wolves or whatever in folklore was a different thing.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Where you been living? I guess you probably didn't watch the Twilight ones either.
Absolutely not.
I only watched it for the werewolves.
I don't plan on watching those.
So yes, the werewolf, the were actually means human.
I did not know that.
As part of the wolf, Old English. So literally man wolf.
Or Wolfman, like the movie.
Yes. So we can start with what we know is fiction movies.
Right.
We know these to be not
Teen
necessarily
Wolf.
true. Oh, geez.
Wolfman, the original, and the new one that just came out. I haven't seen the new one.
There's a new one?
Yeah, it just came out
Like-
like 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? All right. That's the rock I'm living under.
I don't really like his design though because it's more man than wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. I remember an American Werewolf in London.
That sounds familiar
I'm sure it does.
because of one particular person.
Correct. So this movie is exactly what it sounds like. It's an American that gets attacked in London and is then turned into a werewolf. I remember this movie so vividly because they actually did like I'm going to call it stop motion to create the illusion of him actually changing into a werewolf.
I don't think stop motion is the right word.
I don't think so either, but that's why I said that's what I'm going to call it.
I don't know.
I don't know if you're
what the scene is.
Well, he's literally changing into a werewolf in this scene.
If I saw it, I'll be able to probably say what it is.
They just kind of slowly added on hair. They slowly added on, I don't know, the elongated hand or whatever it was that they did.
Yeah.
It wasn't completely CGI.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like it was.
They actually use like prosthetics and.
Yeah, they added things on in different scenes, so it looks like he's literally transforming in front of you.
It's
And,
cool when they do practical effects. I really like them.
and they really hold up through time.
Yeah.
Usually. That's why Jurassic Park. You can still watch it and not cringe.
Yeah, like the CGI isn't like I love it when they do practical effects instead of just stupid computer work.
Like I'm not going to down computer work because that stuff is hard. Also,
It is, but some of it does look
but it can look really cheesy.
like in Kraven the Hunter that came out a little bit ago. There was a lion scene. I'm not expecting them to use a real lion to attack someone,
No, probably not.
but the CGI was really, really bad. And this is a movie that came out last year.
Yeah, and it's also part of the acting too. Like if the actor is either subpar or just looks silly.
I don't think the acting was actually bad. It was just you could tell that it was CGI creature lunging. And I'm not expecting them to have an actual lion.
No, but they could have used like a person and then like gone over. I don't know. I don't really know how a lot of those things work, but
Like how I don't really know how it works, but like, you know, for the Lion King, how they had like the person playing the lion like actually do the movements and stuff.
Yes.
Like they could have done something like that. I know what they're called.
I know the word. I don't remember.
They,
yeah.
put,
they did that for
black dots.
Avatar.
Yeah. They do that for a lot of stuff.
I forget the name. I forget the name. But yes, those effects are really cool, and they can come out really awesome.
And I know Lion King's an animated movie, but
yeah, but I mean, Avatar is 90%.
See,
also,
like,
yeah.
Most of movies like that are like
they have to be,
yeah,
because most of those things don't exist.
No,
like where are you going to find a 12-foot tall blue person with a tail?
Like Marvel movies as a whole is probably all just 95% of CGI.
I know, especially with all the destruction that happens. It's insane. And there was, you mentioned the Wolfman.
Yeah.
What year was that? Was that the 1941 movie?
I was talking about the.
I mean the original one.
Oh,
not the one that came out recently.
I haven't seen that.
No.
No.
So a major. Well, actually, no, they're not really that different. So the Wolfman, I think he got bit or scratched by a werewolf, and I think he ended up killing the werewolf that attacked him in that movie.
I think how you turn into a werewolf is by getting scratched.
Typically.
Yeah, typically.
But there's a lot of other folklore that that is a little confusing, and it makes me kind of believe that a werewolf was 100% made up. Mostly to control people. I'm sorry, lycanthrope lovers. I'm sorry.
What do you mean by control people?
So kind of like the witch hunts, right?
Right.
Through my research on this, I discovered that there were actual werewolf hunts also. And they burned, typically men, alive for being werewolves. I was unaware of this.
I didn't know that either.
This was a new fact to me, and it was a rabbit hole that I gladly jumped into both feet. It was really fascinating because there was actually two actual Pierre Burgot and Michel Verdun, and they allegedly murdered several children. And for some reason, the French back in the 1500s decided that it was because they were werewolves. Honestly, it's strange to me that they couldn't wrap their hands around a human cold-bloodedly killing children. So they made up a creature that did.
It's not.
I mean, it really confused me. Because I'm like, hold on.
When was this?
The 1500s. I think it says specifically 1521. It says that they swore allegiance to the devil to gain this ability. And then they were burned at the stake.
The kids?
No. They were already murdered. No, the murderers.
So then what was the point of coming up with a fake creature?
Because they couldn't believe that humans were capable of such a thing. They didn't want
people been killed by?
I mean, these are adult males that were attacking children, I think was what they were looking at it as. But also my point, like you're totally okay with making up a creature, but you're not okay with
believing that
humans are capable of this. What? I don't understand. History Channel says that they were probably mentally ill. I mean, if they're murdering children. Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, yeah. But there was also a wealthy man in Germany around that same time, Peter Stubb, I think.
What?
He was eventually blamed for killings. There's no actual proof that he actually did it. It says that he was tortured and then eventually confessed. Right. You can't really, believe a testimony when it's done under torture and they're going to say whatever to get you to stop.
Want to hear.
Exactly. So they believed he made them believe that he had a belt that had magical powers that could turn him into a wolf.
You know how stupid that sounds?
Exactly. And they were just like, yup, that's it. That's what happened. Like, they're totally okay with believing in magic. But they weren't okay with believing that a human was capable of this?
That doesn't make any sense.
And not only that, like, this is what made me think they were using it to control people, because this article doesn't even say that they believed he was the person responsible. That there were no other indicators that he was the person that committed these heinous crimes. He was just a wealthy person that they wanted out of the picture. So they were just like, nope. we're going to pretend you're a werewolf and get you out of my way. You know, like, seriously? Talk about a conspiracy theory.
So did they like make up this like when he was being tortured, he made up this werewolf? Or did he just say like a creature and then they kind of just gave it a... Like, where did werewolf like come from?
I don't know. So this says that he was blamed for gruesome killings after being cornered by hunters who claimed they saw him shapeshift from wolf to human form. Okay, so why did nobody look at those hunters and think that they were the crazy ones? Like, what? Why was that not put under scrutiny? Like, why? I don't understand.
They should have been put under scrutiny. That sounds really...
Yeah, I mean, yes.
What if it didn't actually happen, though?
I know, right? I mean, we do live in an entirely different world from the 1500s.
Yeah.
100%.
Like, I feel like back then, like, they just killed women because they thought they were witches. So, like, why wouldn't they kill these people for saying...
Yeah. Like,
that wolf person.
Right. He could have... I didn't look into him personally that much, but he could have just been somebody that was standing in the way of someone purchasing a plot of land that they really wanted. You know what I mean? And that person of power was like, get rid of this guy. You know, like there's been stuff like that happening for centuries, you know?
Yeah.
That human greed is far worse than any werewolf creature humans can come up with. So it was interesting to me to read this and go, I had never heard of this before, actually. Like, as much as I've researched anything ever for various reasons, I had never heard of werewolves being hunted like this. I always thought it was just like, you know, part of folklore in stories, whatever.
They were just like another creature.
I did not realize that they were hunted like witches were. I thought that was very interesting.
That is.
I was definitely a little shocked.
So Wikipedia says, like, the definition of a werewolf in folklore, a werewolf means man-wolf from Old English. Is an individual who can shapeshift into a wolf, or especially in modern film, a
Therianthropic
hybrid wolf-like creature, either purposely or after being placed under a curse or affliction, often a bite or the occasional scratch from another werewolf, with the transformations occurring on the night of a full moon.
You know what it kind of sounds like?
What?
Rabies. I mean, no, you're not going to literally turn into an animal. No. But you're going to be foaming at the mouth. You're going to be acting crazy. You're going to be lashing out at people from the bite of an animal. That was rabies. That was also acting in this way.
It could be rabies.
So, I mean, in some cases, yes, I'm sure that that's entirely possible. That, you know, somebody got scratched by a cat or a raccoon. Or yeah, exactly. They could have been attacked by a wolf that was infected with rabies.
Rabid.
And the same thing happened. Yeah, so, I mean, just like with the vampires, modern medicine can explain away a lot of things, for sure.
Yeah.
But the folklore stories go back really far. I believe the Norse mythology around it was just that they were extremely smart wolves. They weren't human-like, I think. I think it was the Norse.
I don't know what you were.
I don't remember where I was reading it. So I think there was another folklore of a community of people that they would wear the pelt of a wolf, and that led people to believe that they were shapeshifters, and they would have, ceremonies, not necessarily worshiping the wolf, but where they would act wolfish just to honor the wolf.
What?
I don't know. I'm trying to base this off memory and it's not working.
In early modern history, there were numerous reports of werewolf attacks and consequent court trials in 16th century France. In some of the cases, there was clear evidence against the accused of murder and cannibalism, but no associated with wolves. In other cases, people have been terrified by such creatures such as that of Gilles Garnier in Dole in 1573, who is convicted of being a werewolf. A peak of attention to lycanthropy came in the late 16th to early 17th century as part of the European witch hunts. A number of treatise. Why are they
What the hell kind of word is that?
Why are they using such weird words? A number of treatises on werewolves were written in France during 1595 and 1615. I think that word treatises is just like treaties.
Yeah, that's a really weird word.
I don't know why In 1598, werewolves were sighted in Anjou. I don't know if it's Anjou. I don't know. In 1602, Henry Boguet wrote a lengthy chapter about werewolves. In 1603, a teenage werewolf was sentenced to life imprisonment in Bordeaux.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if that's where the story Teen Wolf came from.
I find it interesting that the time frame is like the same 100 years. So I was talking about those two murderers. Was it Peter and... Nope, Pierre and Michelle. Those were in 1521, and all of these are in the later 1500s. So it seems in that 100-year span, they were really going after the werewolf thing.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it was a bigger plot. You know what I mean? Like it was a bigger conspiracy.
It seems like it.
A 500-year-old conspiracy theory. But what would somebody have against a teenage boy?
I don't know.
Maybe, or maybe these people were just unhinged, and they're just like, or attention seekers. They're like, yeah, I can turn into a werewolf. Like every full moon. Yeah. 100%. Like
there were definitely those people.
Absolutely. Like we still have those people.
Another boy claimed he and his mother could change themselves into wolves, which was not taken seriously. At the beginning of the 17th century, witchcraft was prosecuted by James I of England, who regarded werewolves as victims of delusion induced by a natural superabundance of melancholic.
That sounds like a load of shit.
I don't even know what any of that means.
Superabundance. So he's pretty much just saying that witches created werewolves and bad behavior created more werewolves.
So why do we have to use these I don't know. I don't like this Wikipedia page.
Well, that has quotations, so that's actually what James I said.
Yeah.
About these things. So they talked like that.
But like they can also say what it actually
do a translation underneath.
Yeah. Because, like, they also worded super weird, so you, like, the consequent court trials is really hard to just say in one sentence together, I feel like. I had a hard time saying it.
And the court trials thereafter. There you go. There's your translation. I think it might be a good thing that werewolves probably aren't real. I'm going to give it a 99% chance that they are not because, well, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. And they may, if they do exist, they may not be anything like what Hollywood has turned them into be. So I would hope that they aren't, it's not as terrible as it sounds. You know, like being forced every month to change into this creature and, you know, going and killing people willy-nilly for 3 nights. Like that sounds like a terrible time. I really don't wish that upon anyone. Because, you know, you never know who you could end up attacking. Like if you don't have full control over yourself.
Yeah.
Like you never know where you're going to end up. That sounds terrible.
It does. I do have another, like, werewolf person. This was a case that Ed and Lorraine Warren studied.
Those names sound familiar. What are those names?
The demonologists that studied. They're like the Conjuring movies are based off of them, like the Annabelle case, the Haunting.
Is that why those names sound familiar?
Probably.
Did we talk about them with the Conjuring house?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
probably.
Bill Ramsey. He was born and raised in Essex, the seaside town of Southend in the UK. His childhood would seem mostly normal, except for an incident when he was just 9 years old. One memorable day, Ramsey was outside his back garden when he began to feel strange. It was deep into one Saturday afternoon in 1952 when an icy blast of frigid cold swept all over him. Perspiration froze on his skin and a foul stench came close to making him vomit. The confused young Ramsey only had 2 things on his mind: running away to a life on the beach in Wolves. The confused young Ramsey only had 2 things on his mind: running away to a life on the beach in Wolves. When he heard the distant calls of his mother, he snapped out of his trance. However, Ramsey was changed. Intense and pure rage had installed itself firmly within his psyche. Psyche? What does psyche even mean?
Your brain, your thoughts.
Oh. Within his psyche. Using this and the adrenaline-fueled strength he now possessed, he had uprooted a fence post. With the fence post still attached, and was swinging it like a club. Not even his parents could easily remove the post with their bare hands. What the young child did next made both of his parents flee back into the relative safety of their home. Leaving Bill isolated outside, Bill Ramsey placed the wire meshing into his mouth and began gnawing on it. The cold sensations returned and a low growl emitted from deep within him. Both his parents remained inside the house until it was apparent that their son had calmed down considerably.
So is this supposed to be a true story?
Yes.
So who's to say this wasn't rabies that made this kid go wild? Because it doesn't say anything about him biting him or anything.
No, it was very vague. I'm pretty sure something bit him.
Yeah.
Because then he was like in a trance, I guess.
Yeah, because like
I also don't like how this is worded at all.
No, I don't think rabies happens that quickly.
No.
So like he could have been scratched the day before.
Not
By an animal, you know, like he's
maybe
reaching
even
for
his house cat.
Right, like he's reaching for a ball, you know, in a bush, and something scratches him, you know, because he's in their territory, right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't think anything of it.
No.
And then like a couple days later, he's suddenly outside again, and it hits him.
On wire mesh.
Right, and it hits him. I bet you he was foaming at the mouth too. Like, there's a lot of holes in that story.
Maybe they'll be answered.
Maybe.
Hopefully. I have seen, like, some sort of video of, like, him in, like, a room and him, like, just growl. Like, obviously any person can growl, but, like, it was weird.
A real
I'm
A real
pretty sure
video?
it was real. Because, like, those aren't...
You said it was the 50s, right? 60s? Yeah, there should be home
when
movies.
that incident happened, but I don't know when Ed and Lorraine got involved. We can't find the video on him. I swear there was one, but I found the picture of what I'm thinking of, but I still can't find the video.
You know, it kind of looks like he does have some sort of illness happening with the way his hands were contracted. Like it was...
But, like, that was so many years later.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean, if he was a werewolf, how did he not eat anybody or actually turn into a wolf?
That we know of.
Well, I mean, if this started when he was 9 and that guy was at least in his 40s, 50s that was sitting in that chair.
Yeah.
So you're telling me out of 40, 50 years of somebody taking care of him, this has never happened?
I'd say, like, late 30s, early 40s, because he was 9 in the 50s, and I'm pretty sure this all happened with Ed and Lorraine in the 70s.
Oh.
That's when...
I was just basing off that picture.
Oh.
I was just guessing by the age. But even still, that's, 20, 30 years that someone was taking care of him.
Yeah.
And he potentially turned into a wolf? Or is they're just basing this off of him acting wolf-like?
I'm not sure.
So, I mean, yeah, and in such a modern time... So this wasn't 500 years ago. Like, this is a person
this is recent.
that, like, was almost tangible in our lifetime. So, I mean, I'm sure doctors were into this. Like,
oh, yeah, for sure.
There had to have been a reason. Some medical reason. Whether we know what it is or not yet, I don't know.
15 years after the terrifying incident, nothing even remotely similar happened in the life of Bill Ramsey. I don't know how something could happen so...
I know, just continual episodes, maybe. But he clearly didn't look normal.
No, he looked not right in the picture. He had grown up, got married, and became a doting father of 3. What does doting even mean? Like,
loving.
Why can't they just put that? Or why not
talking fancily? I don't know.
Or why not just a father of 3?
You're very aggressive against this writer today.
The writers. The first 2 years of his marriage, though, were plagued by nightmares. Each dream was the same, and the results ended up identical as well. Ramsey always awoke in a cold sweat and was overwhelmed by feelings of dread and unease. In his dream, he was always a few steps behind his wife, who would then turn to face him and run away in extreme terror. It was only in 1967 that these dreams ended. 18 months on, and Bill woke one night to hear what he thought was panting of a wild animal somewhere inside the bedroom. He was correct. It was Bill himself. Dun dun dun. I don't know what this picture is because it doesn't have any explanation, no source below it, and it's just a circled thing.
It looks like a creature on 4 legs. It looks like they're trying... Honestly, if they didn't circle it, it looked like a shadow. But it looks like they're trying to point out that it's a creature on 4 legs.
This is not in a bedroom. This is outside.
Maybe if we read on. I don't know. It sounds like this guy has a lot of mental issues.
The person who wrote this. Once again, there was a lull in activity for approximately 15 years.
It was a lull? All right.
It was now 1983, and Bill was out with some friends at a local pub. So I guess it was like when he was 50.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that picture, yeah. So, I don't know. It's so weird that weird thing happened and just keeps popping up every once in a while.
I don't know what rabies is like.
I don't know.
Even if that even
I would think they had the technology in this age to know what rabies was and to treat it. But it doesn't sound like he was ever taken to a doctor.
No.
Like, if my kid pulled a fence post out of the ground and started chewing on it, you can bet your ass I'm going to take him to a doctor. Like, something's wrong.
After several drinks, Bill began to feel the same icy chills that first manifested much earlier in his life. He made an excuse and headed to the lavatory. Once there, he checked himself in the mirror and saw a wolf looking back at him. This was just a precursor as to what was to happen on their way home. In the car ride home, and without any warning, Bill began to growl and immediately turned to his fellow passenger, both hands twisted into claws, and Ramsey tried to bite the leg of his friend. The designated driver
Didn't panic. Yep, you're right.
but it said passenger, so I thought
He must be in the back seat.
Okay. The designated driver didn't panic. He brought the car to a stop and made attempts to get the raging Bill out of the back of the car. It still took several minutes and quite a bit of effort to finally get Bill out of the car. By now the frenzy had dissipated. Worse was to come, but not for another 18 months. Shortly before Christmas 1983, Bill begins to suffer from chest pains, and thoughts immediately turn to a possible heart attack. Bill checked himself into the emergency room of the local hospital and was halfway through a blood pressure examination when he sank his teeth into the arm of the nurse and ran through the ward as a man possessed. Witnesses would later reveal that Bill had hunched shoulders and both hands had curled into talons or claws and bared lips just like a rabid animal. Anyone that dared approach was knocked down easily with almost superhuman strength. It took quite a few people working as a team to finally subdue the rampaging man. A police officer managed to place handcuffs around Ramsey's wrist, but still, this was not sufficient. A tranquilizer finally put an end to the outburst.
Yeah.
The following morning, this tranquilizer had worn off, and so did the original transformation. After a hearty breakfast, the attending doctor listened to the whole story and recommended that Bill remains under observation. However, he was a voluntary patient and was fully entitled to check himself out. Bill did so, but was back within the span of 2 months. In January 1984, Bill had just finished a visit to his mother when he began to feel an attack coming on. He made it to the same hospital on the same terms of his previous visit. The attending nurse was alone in Ramsey in the emergency room and feared for her life once she told Ramsey that she was going to find a doctor. Ramsey threw to one side and lunged for an orderly.
Mm-hmm.
By chance, 4 police officers entered the hospital and immediately circled Ramsey. The officers and Ramsey had a standoff for a few seconds until Ramsey began snarling and growling at all 4. The policeman advanced on Ramsey, who defended himself with some vigor. One of the 4 police officers suffered wounds so severe that he ended up in the hospital for another 4 days. All 4 managed to handcuff Ramsey again. The short walk to the waiting squad car went off without incident, as Ramsey had apparently regained his facilities.
It turns out it takes 2 to 3 weeks for rabies to show up.
Oh, wow.
However, well, it does say also that it can range from 1 week to a year.
That's
insane. Also, however, it is almost always fatal once you've seen symptoms. So,
is there even a way to treat rabies?
I think so. I know that we have a rabies shot for like humans, and it's really uncomfortable. Because they have a vaccine for it. Wow. Once a rabies infection is established, there's no effective treatment, though a small number of people have survived rabies. The disease usually causes death. Wow. That's insane.
That's scary.
Right? I did not realize that it was that dire. I thought we at least had, a couple of shots and you'd be fine. I guess not. So I wonder... Yeah, I wonder if this guy just had some sort of...
Rabies?
No, some sort of mental illness, like a severe bipolar situation. You know, like or like a schizophrenia or something where
Schizophrenia is definitely
where something he just kind of something causes stress, so he tweaks.
Okay, so this article was getting pretty big, so I'm just gonna skip to the when the Warrens visit London. One thing that went in Bill's favor was the visit to London of American demonologist Ed and Lorraine Warren. Bill's story appeared on a television show at the time of their stay. Lauren immediately considered that Bill was being possessed and got in touch with the Southend-on-Sea police station. After dialogue on both sides, the Warrens obtained the opportunity to talk to the Ramseys during an exorcism in Connecticut. Bill Ramsey begins to physically change into a werewolf during an exorcism.
They did an exorcism on him?
It says the same thing twice.
They need a better editor.
So I thought that they were in London. So why is there an exorcism being done in Connecticut?
Maybe they brought him to Connecticut. Because Essex is also in the United States. Essex County.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of things that we have named are from England. New England.
The Warrens negotiated with Bill Ramsey and finally convinced him to come to their church in Connecticut and undergo an exorcism with their own specialist, Bishop Robert McKenna. Bill relented and made the trip with his wife in 1989. A tabloid newspaper, The People, sponsored the trip. The night before the exorcism was due to take place, Ramsey tried to strangle his wife while she slept. While the exorcism actually began, Bill was not at all impressed. The service was being conducted in Latin, and for half an hour nothing happened. Bill then took on an entirely different appearance. His face contorted and both hands formed claws. McKenna commanded the demon to leave. The full force of werewolf fury descended on McKenna one time and then disappeared for good. This whole event was recorded on film. Bill Ramsey last appeared in public in 1992 when he updated his progress. Just before the exorcism, the transformations were increasing in both frequency and seriousness. Since that time, there have been no incidents recorded. So it says that the entire thing was recorded.
Where is that recording? I mean, I didn't search for very long.
Yeah.
I will say I did not search. I think I clicked on one video. I'm not really sure if I believe that you can exorcise a werewolf.
Yeah. But what if it wasn't a werewolf? What if it was just like a demonic spirit thing? I don't know.
I don't know, because that kind of goes back to Are Ghosts Real? And that sort of thing. So yeah, maybe negative energy is real, and that exorcist asking that negative energy to leave is what was being experienced.
Maybe.
I can't say that I was seeing in that video his skin blister and, the gash created in his forehead.
Yeah. It was also a poor video.
Well, I mean, it was, the early 90s?
Yeah.
Right?
But his face did look...
Definitely, but...
weird. We were able to find, like, a little video of it. Not the entire thing.
No. I wish we could see the whole thing without, people's commentary through it.
Yeah. Well, the people commenting on that one video was Ed and Lorraine themselves.
Right, the people that were there. Yeah. But I'd rather see it with my own eyes because, his hands contracted into claws like no human hand can. No, they absolutely can. Thank you.
It wasn't anything crazy. It was weird looking, but
yeah, and it would definitely be uncomfortable. It would be painful afterwards because we were doing it as we were talking about it. My hands are kind of sore, but
his face was definitely strange, though. I don't know.
Absolutely, and you know what? He could have just been hallucinating, and he could be schizophrenic or something. And so those words being chanted over and over again in a rhythm is going to hypnotize him.
Hmm.
So
But how would that explain his face changing?
he's hypnotized. You're basically telling him that he's possessed, right?
Hmm.
And then you're going to hypnotize him. So then he's going to be possessed. Like I said, I did not see in that video that his face was actually blistering. Like, if you contort your face enough, you can do some weird things with your muscles. So I'm not saying he was not possessed, but I'm also not saying that he was.
I would like to see the video
All the way through, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like that would be able to give my final answer.
I definitely say there was definitely something wrong with him. 100%.
I also believe in most of the Ed and Lorraine Warren stuff, like pretty much all of it.
Yeah. I knew those names sounded familiar. I just didn't know why. I don't know. I'm replaying the video in my head. I don't think I would ever be satisfied with that video. You know, as proof one way or the other.
Oh.
Because it's so grainy. Like, the only way that you could probably convince me was if I was there. So I'm a hard person to convince things. Because there's always something. There's always, like, just like I already said, there's still that percentage where there's that weird possibility that a werewolf type creature could exist. Sure.
Yeah.
Why not? I'm not gonna be that person and say no, absolutely not. I'm just gonna say highly unlikely. Like, if someone came to me and said they turned into a werewolf, I'd say, okay, show me? Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't
maybe.
know.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. That might be dangerous. Like, I wouldn't. I don't know. That would be a whole other a whole other story. Also depend on how well I knew that person. But I definitely think that there was something wrong with him.
Yeah.
Hell, he could have just been doing drugs. He could have just been, then when he was coming down from his high, he was a really aggressive, terrible person.
I guess that's
totally possible. I find that very fascinating. I was not aware of Bill Ramsey.
I wasn't entirely either. I've just heard of him from, like I said, previous research of Ed and Lorraine Warren. And that, like, just popped into my head as we were talking about it.
Yeah. I'm glad you showed me that, because I might look further and try to find that video.
I don't know. Like, all the video, like, whenever you look up that video, it's just, like, a whole bunch of people talking about it, and it's, like, the same image.
Yeah, and there's just, like, a singular picture and then people talking.
Yeah. That's not what I want to see.
No, that's not what I'm looking for. So, I mean, we might not be able to find that on the internet. I'm sure it exists somewhere. So, do you still believe werewolves are real?
From the start, I don't know if I really did. I thought they were just an animal.
Oh, that's right. You're only just learning that they were like a mythical thing.
Why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why wouldn't they exist is probably a better question.
I think they're more realistic than, say, a vampire. Because, vampires are supposed to heal quickly. They're supposed to be immortal. All these kinds of things. You know what I mean? But a werewolf is something that, becomes more beastly at a particular time.
Yeah.
And they have aggressive behaviors. And
I feel like it could be.
I feel like that's more realistic than a vampire. Or maybe even a ghost.
I wouldn't say about more realistic than a ghost, but
I don't know. I mean, that's tough. Maybe because, like, seeing a werewolf is something that you can, like, it's there. But
these are questions that we will not have answers to.
No, we may never. I think that about wraps up January.
I think it does.
It'll be now February.
This is getting released February 1st.
Yeah. So that wraps up January. I'm Erica.
And I'm Wyatt.
Thanks for listening to
Tales Untold.